Okay, are we good to go, I wonder? I think we may as well make a start. Right, Gormil Mahagov Cllr, us Vehan Shahanach and Yuv, Ta Foilte Roy Villig, either Tua August Cllr, that covers much when you say Tua August Cllr. We have so many distinguished guests here, bishops, politicians, former presidents, priests, loads of lovely nuns, lots and lots of people. I was doing an MC job recently when they were opening officially the Porky Queeve, the new Porky Queeve, and there were about 15 or 20 people behind me when I was doing the intros. The mics weren't working, unfortunately. And I said to somebody, do I have to introduce everybody? He says, I tell you what, boy, half the cabinet is there. I'll introduce myself. And before I do that, just to mention, if mobile phones could be on silent, that would be great. And in the event of any calamity, there are exits there, and there. But if there is a calamity, just watch me, follow me, I'll be the first out. Promise you that. I'm Ger Canning, and I worked as a teacher here. And it was a wonderful experience many years ago, in the last century. I had done my HDip in a boys' school in Bishopstown, where I was teaching history. And you know, the boys and history, and they get madly interested when you get into battles and there's goriness and there's blood and everything. And the question they will ask is, how did he die? And you came into South Pres then, you taught the same thing, same children, and they wanted to know, how many children did he have? There was a big subtle difference. It's truly a great pleasure for me to be back in South Pres, where I can honestly say that I spent some of the happiest days of my life. The people I met here, students, teachers, they've remained very firm friends, I can honestly say, over many years. Many's the time I've met somebody out on the street in Cork, in a business somewhere, and they will say, the first thing they'll say to you, do you remember me? And then they'll tell me the years they were in South Pres, and we'll have a chat, and we'll be still talking a half an hour later. The South Pres nuns, I mentioned the nuns earlier on, I can honestly say this, hand on heart, they were the nicest, kindest, most caring group of people that I was ever privileged to know or to work with or for. They couldn't have done enough for any of their students. And those of us working here knew only too well their friendliness and their generosity. They were, and they still remain, remarkable women, carrying on the spirit of Nano Nagle, which guaranteed a place of learning and a place of care for everyone, irrespective of circumstance. When I got here first, there were about 600 students at school here. It had been far greater at one stage, nearer 900 or 1,000. The place was bursting at the seams even at that stage, yet everybody took it in their stride. And the message was always the same. Strive to be as good as you can be. And the students achieved outstanding academic success. Not that success was measured by academic progress alone. There were many other yardsticks. Most of all, this was a place to be happy in. And people were happy here in South Pres, I can truly say. We had our music, and we had our art, and we had our sport and theatre as well. The nuns were very generous in that they gave up their little garden down in the Mon, just behind the wall here, down here, small little place. And my colleague, John Gargan, he trained the camogie team there. Now, it was a small garden, but it became our mini Croke Park. And I was up in the hall, and we had many a show there in the school theatre, school hall. We made it into our own mini opera house. And there was a basketball court. It's down towards the end of the new building here, and the cars just pass by and look in and see everybody training away. And, you know, it was carefree stuff. It meant that if you wanted to, South Pres was a place of learning, a place of recreation, and a place of stimulation from early morning until sunset. And even then there was a makeshift floodlight. I want to mention a few people. They've sadly left us at this stage. Overseeing it all were great nuns like Sister Gertrude and Sister Peter. They were former principals of South Pres. Sister Bonaventure, she was the nun who did everything, and everybody loved her. Sister Josephine, I met her sister here just a little while ago, think of her still, and then Sister Rosario in her amazing music room. All of them, as I say, now sadly gone to their eternal reward, but certainly people that I will never forget. They were very, very special people. And now on a special day for the modern South presentation, I'd like to invite our bishops to come and offer a blessing, starting with Bishop John Buckley. And while we're at it, we could ask Bishop William Crean and Bishop Paul Colton to join him here.
Thanks very much, John. Lord Mayor, we are very happy indeed, Bishop Crean and Bishop Colton and I, in the presence of our former President, to be with you on this very special occasion as we begin our prayer service. We congratulate, of course, the presentation sisters worldwide who had the vision and the courage to make this magnificent project a reality. As I was saying to Bishop Crean earlier on, the facilities here, the various programs and options and so on will be of enormous benefit to people, especially young people, particularly the vulnerable and the marginalised. And it's a very appropriate monument, you could say, to Nano Nagle, whose memory will, I suppose, forever remain indelible in the annals of the religious history of Ireland. She too was constantly reaching out to other people, to the poor with her famous lantern, and in particular to the young for whom she had such great affection. She said that they should be not only loved, but respected. There was no one indeed who looked into her eyes that was not certain that Nano Nagle was really interested in them in their own welfare from the cradle to the grave, that they all were being valued and indeed taken seriously. And I think, and we know that she has transmitted that distinctive spirituality and legacy to her congregation. We see their great work in so many places. Her spirit animates the sisters at home and abroad. I've seen it abroad, for example, in Ecuador. So it's very appropriate that we should begin our ceremony today with prayer. She was above all a woman of prayer. All her work, concern for others, was an overflow of her prayer life. She often said that our lives should be like the compass that travelled around the circle without moving from the centre, and that centre was Jesus Christ himself. So we begin our ceremony with a little short little prayer. Then Bishop Colton and Bishop Crean. By the way, Bishop Crean and I were in Rome during recent times, which had passed a number of months, and we met the congregation out there, and we were very glad to see that Nano Nagle's name was very prominent on the list of those for beatification. So we'll all pray for that day. We gather this morning in gratitude to seek God's blessing on Nano Nagle and all its activities. May it be a place of hospitality for all who enter here. As we commemorate that valiant woman, Nano Nagle, may her hopes and dreams continue to inspire and challenge us as we respond to the needs of our time. Lord, hear us.
Lord and source of all gifts, we rejoice in the fullness of your grace. We thank you especially for the gift of change, bringing the newness and rebirth that we celebrate here today. May the Christian community involved in this project continue to build your kingdom of justice, love, and peace. Lord, hear us.
God, creator of all, may this centre be a place of welcoming and compassionate hearts, where all are included and called to live their life to the full, where the gospel of Jesus is lived out in the spirit of Venerable Nano Nagle. Continue to draw us into the mystery of oneness, where we hear the call of people and earth made poor. Lord, hear us.
Let us pray. Lord, we invoke your blessing on the many people who contributed to the redevelopment of South Presentation Convent. We remember also those who died, worked and learned here in the past. We pray a blessing on them and on the present staff and volunteers, and we make all our prayers through Christ our Lord. Amen. And just as a blessing of the building. Thank you very much.
Thanks very much indeed to our three bishops. When Bishop Buckley became a bishop first, I think, he was a regular frequenter of the school here and used to come into the classrooms, and the children were absolutely delighted to see him because he always brought sweets with him. He had a favourite sweet, as I remember it, Bishop. It was Fox's Glacier Mince. And he would go around the classroom and he would reach in and he'd give each children and they loved his arrival here, I can tell you. We're delighted as well that the city of Cork is represented today by our first citizen, who's been very busy since taking office in the summertime, working day and night on behalf of everyone in our great city. Carrying on a great tradition, he's been doing an outstanding job, I think, as our Lord Mayor. Ladies and gentlemen, Councillor Tony Fitzgerald.
My Lord Bishops, Dr. McAleese, Sister Mary Deane, Corr, Jim Corr, Chief Executive, Cork City Council and Doherty, Reverend Fathers, Reverend Sisters, Reverend Brothers, public representatives, invited guests, ladies and gentlemen, Gorov Mahagut a son Corr quid Oxcald Nano Nagle place on shop. Ta me féin agus ma van Céile Georgina sásta bheith an seo ar madan agus tá neasca gwyn go down tríd an idachas leis na sisters, the presentation sisters. Mr. Chairman, thank you for the kind invitation to the official opening of Nano Nagle Place. The Lady Mayoress, Georgina, and I are glad to be here this morning as we both, through our education, have deep-rooted connections with the presentation sisters. Standing here this morning in this chapel, designed in 1865 by the English architect George Goldie, I wish to congratulate the presentation sisters, the Board of Management, past and present, and Michael O'Sullivan, Development Officer, for their vision in the redevelopment of Nano Nagle Place, transforming this 18th century site into the state-of-the-art educational and heritage facility. The South Presentation Centre and now Nano Nagle Place holds a very special place in the hearts of all Cork City people. In a city that is showing all the signs of confidence and investment, cranes on the skyline, it is important that we would also recognise and commemorate the hard work across many generations that has brought us to this positive place we find ourselves as 2017 draws to a close. In Ireland, we have been extremely fortunate that our education system has provided opportunity and learning to us, most notably by access to free education. And the role of the religious orders in creating and nurturing that education system is something that we should never forget. For example, Patrick O'Shea, President of UCC, Barry O'Connor, President of CIT, Ted Owens, CEO of ETB, all bear testament to the quality of education provided by the religious orders. I too am the proud beneficiary of the educational work of the religious orders. And so it is a great privilege for me to be invited here today to this historic and special place to mark the official opening of Nano Nagle Place. Nano Nagle was what we rightfully call a pioneer, that her legacy would be honoured so magnificently through this ambitious redevelopment project is something that the entire city should rightfully take great pride in. Cork City Council is delighted with the opening of the centre, which will serve as a major boost to the city's tourism and educational offerings and will inject new life into the entire South Parish. Links with other tourism sites such as Fort Elizabeth and of course St Finbarr's Cathedral close by, expect to see thousands of tourists pass through the doors of the centre in the coming years. Having visited the centre on many occasions myself at coming into office, I am extremely impressed with the reflective gardens, the cafes and the restaurants on this 3.5-acre development, which also includes a major new educational development on a previously unused plot of land. And keeping with our healthy city status by the World Health Organization, the Nano Nagle place will be open to the public, making it an attractive green space in the city centre. I wish also to congratulate Shane Clark, CEO of the Nano Nagle place, for his enthusiasm and his commitment to the centre. And I think Shane certainly has made every effort to promote and make connections to the wider city and county and nationally. And indeed, this centre has already brought a new lease of life to Douglas Street and the South Parish. It is an amazing transformation in the heart of the city, with origins from the late 18th century to the 21st century, with the entire project funded by the Presentation Sisters, with no public money needed, giving an invaluable centre to the citizens, visitors and educationalists across the city. It was born out of a wish to create a legacy project that marked the history and ideals of the Presentation Order. And the journey begins when Nano Nagle was born in 1718. And as we know, she devoted her life to helping the poor, with more than 400 children being taught in our network of schools across the 7 city parishes by the time she passed away in 1784. However, the ideals of education and social justice are at the heart of the development of connecting people together. In 1771, when Nano Nagle invited the Ursuline Sisters in Paris to Cork to help run her schools in the city's South Pres, as it was known in Cork then, the order had always kept a sense of ownership of its first location on Douglas Street. And to ensure the continuation of her work, Nano Nagle founded the Sisters of the Presentation Order on Christmas Eve in 1775. 12 years later, in 1787, this chain of office was created, making another significant link with the people and education. Since their foundation here, the sisters went on a great journey, and the story here will tell not only of Nano Nagle and the city and the era in which she lived, but what you could call the diaspora, the dispersal by which these women went so far away from Ireland, their social impact and the legacy they left in so many different countries. With our opening today, we are all charged with preserving the ethos of Nano Nagle and her foundation, a place where the life and legacy of a significant Cork woman is remembered and honoured, and where that legacy lives on in a vibrant centre of local community activity. We are all very proud that the whole ethos of global humanitarianism that Ireland has shown for hundreds of years started out from Cork through the work of Nano Nagle and the sisters. On a local level, without Nano Nagle's bravery, the people of Cork wouldn't be where we are today, as Nano Nagle and the Presentation Congregation gave us the gift of education. It is essential that the values and ethos of Nano Nagle are carried into the future and celebrated in Cork and beyond. And the development of the Nano Nagle place has ensured this will happen. Nano Nagle place is now an expected oasis in the heart of the city and a place of inspiration to the whole community. It offers a fresh approach to community development and a place like no other. It is a true testament to the vision of the Board of Management, past and present, and the Presentation Sisters. I am delighted this morning to be in the presence of our former President, Dr. Mary McAleese. We are all so proud of our legacy as President of Ireland, and I'm delighted that she's here this morning and will speak to us later. But during Dr. McAleese's term of office as President, she spoke of building many bridges. Well, as you know, Dr. McAleese, we have lots of bridges here in Cork. Cork is a connected city with many bridges connecting citizens and visitors from the south side to the north side, from the north side to the south side. My morality year is about building a new bridge for Cork, the city of bridges. Not the bridge of bricks and mortar or steel components connecting one bank of the river to the other, but a citizens' bridge connecting different peoples in our city, one to the other and to the wider Cork. My vision during the year is to help and build a more inclusive, safe, resilient and sustainable city of the future. A city that makes connections locally, nationally and internationally, and the Nano Nagle place will continue to do that. Cork City is a vibrant and diverse city. As Corkonians, we are proud of our heritage and we celebrate our diversity. The economic confidence of Cork has been influenced by our harbour, our port and our trading history as a city. With our port, we have learned global ideas and summoned up the energy and drive to make Cork a location that values change in action and opinion. Cork has always been open, a welcoming city. For most of its long history, it's where the river meets the sea. This centre will be another welcoming place, will build many bridges and will attract both local, national and international visitors to this vibrant community. Vibrant communities make up of our city, north and south, east and west. And they are part of my own connected story, my connection with Nano Nagle and the Presentation Sisters. In 1958, my parents married. My mother from Washbrew Lane in Fairhill on the north side of the city, my father from Cove Street, just down the road here on the south side of the city. My first home was 93 Douglas Street, just down the street here. A few doors down from where Frank O'Connor, our writer, lived. So living here on Douglas Street has fond memories for me. Here in the South Pres, or the South Man I used to call it, was my first school. And I remember coming here to school and taking part in in classrooms, but my fondest memory is wearing the blue sash at the May procession and walking around the oratory outside and out on the grounds. And when Shane invited me over just before I came into office, I took a walk around myself and all of those memories came back to me, of my childhood here on Douglas Street growing up. We lived in a flat up over a chipper called Bernie Reardon's Chipper. 4 of us, my 2 brothers, my 2 sisters, in one flat with one kitchen for many, many years. And then, of course, I crossed the bridge and went back up to the north side because my mother had the influence over my father. So we crossed the bridge and then I went to school in St. Vincent's Convent in St. Mary's Road and then went on to the North Monastery where I had extremely happy memories there as well. So the sisters as well, coming from here, they also crossed the bridge because they went up to places like Regina Celli in Farnry, in Churchfield, in the Family Centre, the B45 Centre, and of course in Gerald Griffin Street. And that's where the connection, where the Lady Mayoress comes in, because she went to the North Presentation Convent on Gerald Griffin Street. So, Georgina and I have been taught by the sisters over many years, and we are certainly delighted and glad to be part of this historical day. So for those of you now who are from the North Mon, or from Sully's Quay or whatever, I do hold a mutual kind of affiliation with both places. So today really is a great day to celebrate. And I am very pleased to say that the Nano Nagle place is something the Cork community can be proud of, and a way of celebrating the work of a great Cork woman and the legacy she has left behind. Many, many thanks for your attention, and I wish you all a very healthy and happy and peaceful Christmas. Banach Deane Nano Nagle, Míle Buíochas agus Congregational de Gachéine. Cormaigh Cllr.
Good stuff. Míle Maithagad Ardmhaire. Thanks indeed to the Lord Mayor, and welcome to the Lady Mayoress as well. That sounds like a good mixed marriage to me. North Pres, South Mon, you know. This country has, as you know, been fortunate to have had people of remarkable integrity as our president since the foundation of the state. Each and every one has made a marked contribution, but there's no doubt in my mind that the one who has left a lasting and abiding legacy for a great number of people is our special guest here this morning. It's a great honour and a great privilege to welcome to South Pres former President of Ireland, Dr. Mary McAleese.
Díomhar maid sin na Gcuine Uaisle. Conas atá sibh? After all this work, that's the best you can do. Conas atá sibh? Tá sibh go hínfach. Tá sibh ar aus. We're here to celebrate just how ar aus this city can be, because it's just such it's a remarkable thing I find to be here, because when I came a number of years ago as president to the social housing project, how many years ago was that? 15 years. Is it really? Seriously, 15 years? Really? Because even then, this project was being spoken of as a vision, as a dream, as an idea, as an ambition. And over the years, watching the site become increasingly derelict, you wondered what would happen. And I was thinking of how much it must be a depressing thing over the years, particularly for the sisters and the people, the local people, to have watched the site deteriorate and know that what happens? What happens? And knowing the wonderful story of Nano Nagle and how would you preserve her legacy? And to know that while all that dereliction was going on, the plan was forming, and the plan was getting stronger and stronger. And then the team was brought together under the remarkable chairmanship, may I say, of Jim Corr. So wonderful to be here with the Lord and Lady Mayoress, with the bishops, with the people who have given their lives, a lot of their lives, to this project. To the sisters who've invested so much in it, not just in terms of money, though that is very significant, but in terms of passion and determination and commitment. And that just a huge personal conviction that Nano Nagle herself was just so well known for. Next year, we'll see the 300th anniversary of her birth in this great county. And isn't it a wonderful thing to think that 300 years later you have prepared this gift for her, really, this gift of celebration, this gift of thanks, and that through this gift of thanks, her vision, her values, they just continue to stream down in a cascade, not just on this city, may I say, not just on this county, but on this country, and around the globe, where the Pres girdle has just helped so many people to change their lives through the great gift of education that Ger talked about so beautifully, and our Lord Mayor talked about so beautifully. I thought, as I was listening to them, of that phrase from Seamus Heaney's poem From the Canton of Expectation, where he describes the huge difference that was made in people's lives by having access to education. He describes his own people before that access. And I think Nano Nagle would just love those lines where he says, they lived under high banked clouds of resignation. Can you imagine? Of resignation, you know, with that stoical acceptance that they were the poor and they would always be the poor and nothing would change. And then, he says, this change of mood. And he described, you know, the lives that might have dozed, the heads that might have dozed their lives away against the flanks of milking cows. and now they were busy penciling and paving these new grammars. But the most important phrase, I think, is what is unleashed into the individual, because he describes them then, these youngsters with education, their shoulders back, going out into the world, intelligences brightened and unmannerly as crowbars. It's a brilliant phrase, isn't it? And they needed to use and apply their intelligences as if they were crowbars to all the problems that they experienced. And that's what she did. That's where she started. She was one of those early intelligences. God knows she was brightened and unmannerly herself as the most remarkable crowbar, wasn't she? An extraordinary woman. And this place links us to her vision, her values, because she was not one of those who lived under those high-banked clouds of resignation. She was wealthy. She had choices in her life. She didn't have to join the legions of the despairing, but that's where she placed herself. She looked at those people who lived under those clouds of resignation, and she just said, this is not acceptable. This is not the gospel that I believe in. This is not the God I believe in. And here she was with these talents and this energy that she could have put into being an elegant and very well connected young lady with a life of leisure ahead of her, and it just wasn't good enough. It wasn't good enough for her because it wasn't true enough. And so her truth lay in making her life, her talents, a gift of service to others who were under those clouds, who maybe had lost hope, who wondered, did anybody give a toss about them? Was there anybody up there who really, really cared about them? And so she chooses the path of service to the poor, the path of taking risks to bring education. I can just begin to imagine, you know, how much resistance she must have met in so many ways. I mean, even today we know that how much resistance in many ways women still meet. Can you imagine what it was like then, the resistance, the obstacles she would have faced, and how easy it would have been for her and how nobody would have complained had she turned her back on that service to the poor. And yet, all these decades later, we know that her work has been just like a most beautiful blossom that keeps on giving and giving and giving. I wonder, did she often herself, was she often concerned about what would happen after she went? Would it continue? Would it die with her? And of course, we are able to answer that today in a resounding way and say, absolutely not. She lit a fire, and the fire continues. And it's a good fire, it's not a bad fire. It's a really good fire, a passion, because she inspired so many to follow in her footsteps. And here we know that these 2.5 centuries of stories are captured in this remarkable conglomeration of buildings. That last night I walked around here in the darkness with the beautiful uplighting in the gardens, and it was a very, very special thing. We walked around for quite a while, and the mood and the atmosphere that she helped to create was tangible. You didn't have to read about it on a wall. You didn't have to be told about it. You could actually simply feel it in the air. And you could feel it in the enthusiasm of the people who brought this project to reality. We have, as I mentioned, the seeds of this go back quite some time. I think they go back, in fact, to the Presentation Sisters project begun back in 2009, entitled We Made This. And so they did. They made this. And now they have remade the story of this place. A living showcase of the depth of Nano Nagle's work, the breadth of her work, making this place that was so special to her a place of continuing care, because so many people now will use this place and are using this place for just the most remarkable assortment of things that bring such distinction and such pride to the city, as we heard the Lord Mayor say. And I want to offer huge congratulations to all the people who really made this project their own, who gave their time, their talent, their energy, their hopes, I'd say the odd argument maybe, the odd push, the odd shove, but their determination to see it through to the end. And to all of them, they know who they are. There are many of them in this hall this day. And can I just say, can we just give them a big resounding applause, please? For them, this was a labour of love. But can we who observe it now, seeing it as I am for the first time, just tell you that the result is absolutely superb. It's just simply superb. There's no other way of describing it. And I hope the three sisters now who are living here, Sister Emma and Sister Pia and Sister Rosarie, who's looking after that fantastic archive, I hope you're happy here. We all hope that you're happy here and that you're pleased with what has been done in order to celebrate the life, the times and the continuing legacy of Nano Nagle. We wish you very, very happy times here. And we wish for all the groups who make their lives here, who run organisations here, we wish them too that this place will really honour the spirit and the soul of Nano Nagle. It's been an absolutely monumental project. I don't know if you walk around this place, and even talking this morning, I think it was, I don't know, was it Sister Emma said to me, and she's living here, she still can't find her way around the place. It's uphill and down dale. I mean, it's 3.5 acres, the site, with buildings that go back to the 18th century, the 19th century, and now, of course, the 20th and 21st centuries. And how they managed to create in that site an integrated project and, very importantly, make it accessible, make it wheelchair accessible, make it accessible to everybody. I don't know how they did that, because you have to think very spatially, and I don't have a spatial head. I don't know how they did that. It's been an absolute labour of love, and I know that Jim has been a formidable champion, surrounded by well-chosen formidable champions. We see it as a place too where her care for the poor continues. The social issues of the day will also be replicated in this place through new organisations, new endeavours. It's a place of welcome still for people who, no matter what their age, their gender, their circumstances, no matter what, they will feel at home here, because this is a place that exudes an ethos of care that has been tried and tested here for over 200 years. Over 200 years, pretty practiced, pretty experienced now in care, in pastoral care, in loving care, and at the base of that care, an absolute devotion to the Christian gospel, a determination that when we say that that we have been commanded to love one another, that we're going to do that. We're not going to mince our words. We're going to actually live it out. And that's what this place is all about, living out that huge commandment to love one another. I was just struck by one of the comments by one of the participants in the Lantern Community Project, which is based here also, saying, "I felt wanted and loved in this community." I don't think Nano Nagle would argue with that as a great testimony to the legacy, to the fidelity to her legacy. To feel wanted and loved. Isn't it wonderful that this place is still able to offer that to so many human beings? That would surely make Nano Nagle rest happily. I think of the work that will be done here with the Cork Migrants projects. In a world that seems so rapid, so quick to turn its back on migrants, creates them so easily and spontaneously through violence and conflict and god-awful politics, and then turns its back on them so easily. And I think of all those people who've had to pick up and leave their homes, and yet here in this place too, a welcome for them. Come in, feel wanted, feel loved. I'm really looking forward to hearing from the next generation of students, particularly the school students who'll come here, who will begin to understand through the story that is told here that their education is part of such a legacy, such a depth of history, of investment, in not just them, but in the generations that preceded them, that they really do stand on the shoulders of giants. With us today, I understand, though I don't think I've met them yet, are Margot and her mum Bridie. Where are you? Where's They're down the back there. Margot and her mum Bridie. Hi, how are you? Would you give them a big round of applause? Because you're saluting South Pres pupils. Bridie's 93, imagine. Very, very attached to the South Pres. And I think Kay Donna's here too from the Past Pupils Union, if I'm right. Where are you, Kay? There's Kay as well, down the back. And this is a very important day in the lives of all the South Pres pupils, isn't it? Because I can't imagine the stories, just the huge bursts of nostalgia and the stories that will be spontaneously coming out on this day, and please God, for many, many days to come. I want to wish everybody who crosses this door, that everybody who crosses this door will be able to walk away and say, I felt wanted here. I felt loved here. Wouldn't that be a wonderful gift? A wonderful, wonderful gift to the 21st century. A century where we hope and pray that more people will feel wanted and will feel loved. And that only happens. It doesn't happen by accident. It doesn't clatter together by some kind of coincidence. It happens because people make it happen. They make it their life's work. They invest in other human beings, as you have done here. So can I say, I'm so proud to have been asked to be part of this day. Thank you so much to Jim and to those who asked me to be part of this day. I wish Shane and his team and those who will now run the wonderful campus that is here, Programme Manager Dr. Danielle O'Donovan too, I want to wish them real joy and happiness and fulfilment in their work. They walk around everywhere they look. The story of Nano Nagle just keeps pushing them on to aspire and to be themselves, as she was, sources of inspiration. So that, please God, next year when you reach her 300th anniversary, the work is done. You can relax, ladies. You can relax. Jim, you can relax. You can retire now on a large pension, I presume. I doubt it very much. I don't think there was no pension in this job, was there? No, not the kind of pension we talk about so cynically. A different kind of pension, perhaps. A pension of goodness, a pension of knowing that you did the right thing, the good thing, and that you were able to bring together a group of people who, between them and between their genius, delivered this extraordinary new chapter with Nano Nagle Place, a village of love and goodness at the heart of a wonderful city. Gurmila Mahagiv, enjoy this day.
Thanks very much indeed, Mary, for those inspiring words. Really, really great to have you here today. The Nano Nagle spirit, as Mary was mentioning there, has been carried on in South Pres for over 200 years. I'm delighted that some of those I worked with over many, many years in South Pres are here to share in this morning's ceremony, and included among them Sister Mary Deane, who's an inspiring former principal. I don't know if she's here, but Sister Ambrose, Sister Mary is there. I met you earlier. Sister Ambrose, you were saying maybe not be here. I hope she is. And of course, Sister Lucy. If Sister Lucy's about, God, she works so hard for everybody and anybody in South Pres. These are changing times for the presentation sisters. And I'm one of those also with a family connection. The house my father built with his own hands in Douglas many years ago was called, and is called, Celestine Villa. And Celestine was my father's aunt and a presentation nun from Limerick who moved to North Dakota in the US, where two of her sisters are also presentation sisters, Sister Lelia and Sister Maria Goretti. So if these images are going to North Dakota, if there are anybody there, or people who can remember those people, please let me know. It's time for me now to welcome the Presentation Sisters' Congregational leader. Will you welcome Sister Mary Deane?
So good morning to you all, and it's a real joy and privilege to be with you all today. bit nervous following such an inspirational talk from both the Lord Mayor and from Dr. McAleese. I really want to thank you for those inspiring words, which for me captures not only the spirit and the passion of Nano, but also the heart and soul of this sacred space. Yes, it is an important historic site. The place which celebrates the life and legacy of our beloved founder, Venerable Nano Nagle. The place where Nano is buried, and also where so many of our presentation sisters and Ursuline sisters and presentation brothers, and I know we have both members from the Ursuline and presentation brothers with us. We're very welcome. So we honour as well those brothers and sisters who were buried here. This is a place where Nano began her schools, as we know, the place where she brought the Ursuline sisters from Paris to continue and develop the work, and where presentation sisters have lived and worked right up to 2014 when the redevelopment began. This place is also the seedbed for presentation life and mission across the world. And we are blessed to have presentation sisters in 24 countries who, along with their lay companions, have planted acorns that have grown to become giant oaks. The heart and soul of this space is about transformation that has happened in the lives of thousands of children and also adults who have been educated here over the years. And it's lovely to hear some of the stories, I think, that we've heard this morning from both Cllr and the Lord Mayor. The transformation in the lives of people who received hospitality, spiritual nourishment, acceptance, companionship, and hope. The transformation that has happened throughout the world, inspired by the faith, commitment, compassion, and zeal of Nano and the women who came after her. Today we celebrate the transformation that is Nano Nagle Place. It's truly amazing and wonderful. And our hearts are full of gratitude for this beautiful, sacred space that both honours the past and is responding in new and creative ways to the needs and challenges of today. It's lovely to see how the various ministries located here are using this space. And there's a real sense of pride and ownership by so many people, which is just wonderful. Whenever I've visited and met people who are working here or attending the various programs and activities, I've encountered such a positive reaction. And this is echoed in the feedback from visitors here on TripAdvisor. I think some of you have been looking at those comments. And they describe being blown away by the Heritage Centre and the welcome they experience. They've described the place as fabulous, creative, fresh, new, inspiring, warm, an oasis of peace and reflection and calm in the middle of the city. Now, I could go on, but it's well worth checking out for yourself, and of course you can add your own comments after today if you haven't done. It's hard to believe the transformation that has happened here in the past 3 years, but the journey of the development, the redevelopment, has been much longer. I think you said, Dr. McAleese, 2009, you were talking about him being here in 2001 for the opening of the social housing project. But really, I suppose, over 20 years ago, a group of sisters from different presentation communities in Ireland was set up to look at the future of this place. And of course, that led to a number of initiatives. We Made This was one of them. Various commissions, task groups, and lots of meetings. We're good at the meetings. So the vision evolved over time, and the South Presentation Company was established in 2011 to help make the dream a reality. And so, on behalf of the members of the company, which includes sisters from all around the world, from here in Ireland, from England, and we've got representatives of them here today, but also from Australia and the US. So on behalf of all of them, we express our deep gratitude to the Board of Directors. Many of you sitting here, and we're delighted you're with us today, and of course a special for the leadership of Jean Corr, the chair, to Michael O'Sullivan, who has overseen the building development, to the architects, Jack Coughlin and Associates, and the building contractors, PJ Hegarty. And it's always dangerous to mention names. I've mentioned a few names, but we're aware in naming those, there are so many people who've been involved in this work, in the work of this place. And to all of you, we say from the bottom of our hearts, a huge thank you. So as well as restoring and enhancing the historic heritage of this site, the redevelopment provides a space for new expressions of the living energy and heritage of Nano. This includes awareness of the story of Venerable Nano within the context of the Cork that she lived in, the story of Nano's far-reaching legacy around the world, especially in the area of education, through the work and spread of the Congregation. It includes educational programs and ministries such as the Lantern and Migrant Centre, which have already been mentioned, and all of those honour Nano's vision for mission. And it also houses the archives of the Congregation. An important aspect of the living heritage is the integration of the spiritual and contemplative dimension within the range of educational, social, and cultural programs that are developing here. And we're grateful to Shane Clark, the current CEO of Nano Nagle Place, who has responsibility for holding the complexity and richness of this living heritage. Grateful also to the management team, to the ambassadors and volunteers who provide such a warm welcome and engagement with the story of Nano Nagle and the living heritage here in Nano Nagle Place. So thank you to you all. I think Dr. McAleese has already named the resident community here, and we're grateful to the community of sisters. Their presence and ministry remind us of the long tradition of commitment and fidelity of the Presentation Sisters, and I pay a special tribute to the South Presentation community for their service and commitment over many years to the people of Cork and to the Congregation by faithfully guarding the legacy of Nano spiritually and practically. This beautiful chapel reverberates with the prayers of the sisters who've prayed here for many years. And our Celtic tradition speaks of the thin veil that separates the living and the dead. And I have no doubt we're in the presence of so many who have gone before us, who have been part of the dreaming and the praying for this day. And as I mentioned earlier, the redevelopment has been a long journey for us. After the schools closed, part of the site became very run down. And yes, derelict almost. It was hard to maintain the place and also to envisage new possibilities. In some ways, it would have been easy to give up. But as this is such a significant place for us globally, and I suppose the heart and soul really for us, this was not an option. Collaborating and partnering with so many people have helped us to see with new eyes what might be possible and how it could be done. The presentation congregations here in Ireland and around the world have made a substantial financial investment and commitment to the redevelopment that is not without risk and demanding a lot of faith, courage, and trust. These are challenging times for us as religious, especially in this part of the world, where we're faced with much letting go. But the transformation that is happening gives us a new hope and confidence in our future as presentation. And a big thanks to all who have been part of this journey. The redevelopment here also finds a resonance with the invitation that Pope Francis gave to us as religious in 2014 for the Year of Consecrated Life. He invited us to give gratitude for the past, to live the present with passion, and embrace the future with hope. I believe that the vision, the dream of Nano Nagle Place honours the past and is an expression of our living heritage. It is a prophetic witness of the power of Nano's story and our story in finding new ways to respond to the needs of our world today in order to be a sign of hope for the future. In a few days' time, we celebrate Christmas Eve, which is a very significant day for us as it commemorates the beginning of the Presentation Congregation. On Christmas Eve, 1775, Nano and her three companions, Mary Fooey, Elizabeth Burke, and Mary Ann Collins, came together to begin a new journey. This Christmas Eve marks the launch of the tercentenary year of the birth of Nano Nagle. As we heard, Nano Nagle was born in 1718 in Ballygriffin, near Mallow, County Cork. And throughout 2018, there will be events in Ireland and around the world to celebrate her life and her legacy. But obviously, the Nano Nagle birthplace in Ballygriffin and Nano Nagle Place here in Cork will provide a particular focus and energy for next year, which we're very excited about. And so I want to end with a poem in order of the tercentenary of Nano's birth, written by Sister Terry Abraham, many of you will know, a former Congregational leader who is ministering in Zambia. Now, some of you, if you know Terry, you know she's into stars, so you won't be surprised by this poem. But I suppose these days, when we have such short days and dark nights, the stars and light are a beautiful reminder of the power of light in darkness. And actually, even coming here last night and seeing the light here, just that power of light in darkness, which was so much really part of Nano's life. So this poem is just entitled A Star Rose. On the banks of the black water, from the lap of the Nagle Mountains, a star rose. Her spiraling energy pulses in the universe. When this energy rises deep within you, trust yourself to its leading. This is our time. We are the stars. So may we, like Nano, be bright stars, shining in and through the darkness as we journey into the unknown future, into the mystery of God. God bless you all. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed, Sister Mary, for those evocative lines. They were beautiful. And finally, we look to the present and to the future in this most historic and indeed most charming part of Cork. Alongside Douglas Street and Dunbar Street and Mary Street, the Lord Mayor mentioned Cove Street, Needham Place, we now have Nano Nagle Place, and how appropriate that should be. And it gives me great pleasure now to welcome the chairman of the board of Nano Nagle Place. You've been hearing a lot about him already. Time to hear from the man himself now, Jim Corr.
Right Honourable Lord Mayor, Dr. Mary McAleese, Sister Mary Deane, my Lords Bishops, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Recently, I came across the observations of Winston Churchill, who, in paying tribute to his predecessor in 1942, observed, and I quote, History, with its flickering lamps, stumbled along the trail of the past, trying to reconstruct its seams, to revive its echoes, and to kindle with pale gleams the passions of former days, unquote. I believe that these powerfully descriptive words very effectively described both the ambitions of the South Presentation Centre Limited and of its achievements on the ground, which we are celebrating today. I want to thank my fellow directors for giving so generously of their time and their diverse skills, and in particular, Tom O'Dwyer, who is the instigator of the process of restoring life to the buildings on this site, which had been unused for over a decade. And we describe Tom on the plaque outside as the founding director. I want to thank Michael O'Sullivan, a most committed and competent chief executive, for giving so generously of his time and his expertise over the past 5 years. When we took over responsibility for refocusing the role of the South Presentation Convent and schools, we were of course conscious of the historic nature of this 3.75 acre inner city site, and how we would be required to respond carefully to the conservation rules and restrictions placed on buildings dating from 1771 to 1790. 4 of our buildings fit into that category. And this morning we are gathered here in the chapel designed by the British architect Goldie and built in the 1860s. And then we had to deal with the 1928 red brick primary school buildings on Douglas Street. Many of these buildings were structurally unsafe, and we had to face these problems. But we had wonderful people working for us. We had the services of a most committed conservation architectural firm, Jack Collin and Associates, assisted by a dedicated and very responsive design team, and the building, of course, being carried out by the great Cork building firm P.J. Hegarty's and Sons. I want to thank the officials in City Hall for engaging with us in detailed discussions on the planning and the conservation requirements when refocusing an historic site, and to thank officials from UCC and CIT for their most detailed involvement in the fit-out of a modern school of architecture which is being built on our western suburb and which occupies a site which for generations was a primary school playground. Today, my dear friends, we are celebrating the restoring of life to an historic site which for centuries had been a vibrant centre of learning and of providing care for poor people in the city of Cork. And as a board, we considered it most appropriate to ask Dr. Mary McAleese to perform the official opening of the new Nano Nagle Centre today, because as President of Ireland, as you heard, she came to this site in 2002 to perform the opening of the social housing scheme of 22 dwellings, which was built on the core of the secondary school which had been closed down in 1997. And today, Dr. Mary McAleese has performed the opening of 8 restored elements of Nano Nagle Place. Let me summarise the 8. 1, an on-site convent for resident community. The treatment of Nano Nagle's tomb, the sister cemetery, the Presentation Brothers crypt, and the upgrading of a large garden is adjacent to the city centre, a city centre which is somewhat bereft of open green spaces. 3, self-contained visitor apartments. 4, an administration facility for the southwest province of the Presentation Congregation. 5, suites of flexible multi-purpose rooms for ministry, lifelong learning and cultural activities. 6, an archival facility for the Irish Congregation of Presentation Sisters with further archival space which in the future we may let. Number 7, a major heritage centre with associated education facilities and a temporary exhibition space. And 8, a cafeteria on the edge of the garden, and a shop on the entrance to Nano Nagle Place. And early in the new year, Lacune of Day, we will have completed, on the western apex of this site, the building and the fitting out of a new School of Architecture, which will be leased by UCC and CIT, and subsequently purchased by those third-level education institutions. My dear friends, when we took over responsibility for refocusing the role of the former South President schools, we were driven by the desire to create, in Nano Nagle Place, a clear awareness of the dynamic life of that woman and of the congregation of sisters which she founded, and the fact that the Presentation Sisters travelled to distant parts of the world to assist the Irish diaspora following the terrible famine of 1845-49. And later on, they went on to India, to South America, and to Africa to share the Christian message. Nano Nagle became, in her time, a voice for the voiceless, a campaigner for human rights, a social reformer, and a pioneer of education. And I'm reminded of the words of President John F. Kennedy, who, a few weeks before his assassination, invited a large number of volunteer inner-city community workers from cities along the east coast of America to a reception in the White House. And in the course of his address to them, in which he thanked them for the work that they were doing for perhaps less well-off people in the inner cities, he said, and I quote, "I am certain that after the dust of centuries has passed over our cities, we will be remembered not for victories or defeats in battle or in politics, but for our contribution to the human spirit," unquote. My friends, an enormous contribution to the human spirit emanated from this historic site, and we will share that story with people of all faiths and cultures. Simultaneously, we will use our multi-purpose spaces to engage in ministry activities, to promote lifelong learning, to share with people from at home and abroad the story of the rich Cork heritage in literature, art, music, and religious commitment. Perhaps we shouldn't forget that the young people of today may not be aware that in the first half of the 19th century, Cork was known throughout the world as the Athens of Ireland. And we will also collaborate with aspects of current cultural creativity. Led by our Chief Executive for the management and the operation of Nano Nagle Place, Shane Clark, and his excellent team, we look forward to a great cross-section of society visiting and using the facilities of Nano Nagle Place in 2018. Finally, my dear friends, our achievements on the ground are due to the generosity of the Congregation of Sisters from all over the world. We, the members of the board, we did the thinking, the planning, and the overseeing of physical works on the ground. The sisters provided us with the funding to renew and revitalise a historic site in the centre of Cork City. Cork owes the Presentation Sisters a great debt of gratitude for their courage and foresight. Thank you.
Well done. That's it. Thank you indeed, Jim, for that, and thank you all for being here today. I want to thank Sister Patricia for inviting me along earlier on. I want to thank our bishops who performed the blessing. It's great to see you here. I want to thank our speakers. We were so delighted to have the Lord Mayor here present with us, Sister Mary Deane, of course, as well. Jim has been speaking, and our special guest, Dr. Mary McAleese. Folks, it's time to start making the plum pudding. Have a happy Christmas.